Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today, Ted, we have the KarKey panel, and I'm really excited about what we're going to unpack today.
Sarah, you're so right. Amazing technology happening right now in this space. KarKey USA. Wade Hilburn is the president of KarKey. Wade, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. Thank you, Ted.
We've heard so much about KarKey, Sarah, and Sarah, it's especially top of mind with all the things happening in fixed operations in our industry right now.
It so is, Ted and Wade. It was really incredible to learn more about what you do. But for our audience today, just to kick things off, just give us a little bit of a description. What is KarKey, and how did you get started?
So we got started from years of doing business with the manufacturers on the supply side, service strategies, long-term sustainability. KarKey was designed specifically to be an IT solution that gives the dealership opportunities to access a parts supply that's been around since the automobile by OE number and VIN.
It's really incredible, Ted. And one of the things, Wade, that I was really impressed with, so is the parts that you're sourcing. This is, again, as Ted said, it's really top of mind in our dealership today, especially as more and more cars, Ted, I think we're at 12.8 years now as the average age of vehicles on the road.
Age
And
of the vehicles is getting longer, and prices of new cars don't seem to be coming down, Sarah.
that's so true, Ted. And Wade, there's a lot of challenges right now in supply chain. There's especially with used car inventory. And the question, I've had which I learned about from y'all. Do y'all have OEM parts when it comes to the parts that you are sourcing for these dealerships?
Absolutely. It's an experienced OEM part, recycled OEM part, checked for form, fit, and function, packaged properly to be delivered to perform with no diminished expectations.
Wade, give us a little more background on that. Give us a little bit more color. How did we get here? And how in particular, you mentioned earlier your background, but how did we get to KarKey and how did all this come about?
So it's interesting. KarKey was born out of necessity, right? The whole world tried to transition to EV, or the manufacturers did at least. Uh, Sustainability strategies have been around for a long time that involved recycling and remanufacturing, mostly for big powertrain components. So most people are relatively familiar with that. However, whenever they transitioned to EV and tier ones transitioned with them, a lot of the small parts are the parts that historically weren't sourced or weren't actually available or visible to a OE dealer had become almost non-existent. And with the partnering with one of the OE manufacturers, they wanted to give their dealers an opportunity to say yes to the customer. And so they looked at it and they said, well, that is an OEM part. Yes, it is recycled, but it gives us an opportunity to give our customer an opportunity to get their customer back on the road. And when offered the solution, it was a 90+% acceptance ratio.
Wow.
And the customer was really excited to actually get back on the road. We all know we use our vehicles to make money, and driving for a living has never been more prevalent than it is today. And so people need options, they need opportunities to save money if that's available. But more than anything, they just need their vehicle back so they can
Sure.
start utilizing it to generate revenue for themselves.
Wait, I had an experience where I wish KarKey had existed, in my knowledge, back when I had a vehicle several years ago, an SUV. There was this super small component that I could not find anywhere. And even with the OEM, we had one of the brands, that this vehicle was, and the OEM couldn't source it. It was something that it was just you had to get some huge assembly or something else with it, and it was just this tiny little component that was all that was needed. And the technician is like, yeah, this is like a $100 part. Maybe you don't need to be spending this entire operation doing something with the engine. But that's the reality sometimes today with some of these vehicles, Wade. We're seeing that dealers are kind of in this pickle where they're trying to figure out, could I do right by the customer? The customer doesn't want to order this part, but it's essential for the vehicle to pass, emissions inspections or other things where they're at. And this really solves that solution for dealerships.
It does, and you highlighted something. A big portion of what we actually offer is complex electrical, and when you're looking for backward compatibility, a lot of times that doesn't exist, right? Or it's not available. Tier one's disappeared. And what aftermarket's finding is it's very hard to actually reverse engineer a piece of electronics that interacts with another 150 individual components on the vehicle. And so what they're finding is it's very difficult, and the warranty rates are too high because it's too complex. But when you can actually access the original component, yes, it is recycled, and be able to bring that back and utilize that on your vehicle, it's going to perform like it did day one, and the customer is going to be satisfied and down the road. But to your point, a lot of times components are sold as assemblies when you really just need a part. And that was kind of what hamstringed the recycler for many, many years was their systems and their yard managements and all the different things that were associated with recycles sold parts as an assembly when you really just want a part. And so KarKey was designed to give you that same level of access as a dealer by OE number and VIN to actually source the component that you need, not necessarily the assembly that you don't want.
Wow. Wade, you've mentioned a couple times now recyclers. About how many recyclers are there?
Well, depends on how you calculate recycling, but if there's probably around 9,000 recycling, that's everything from end of life to scrap metal to self service. But generally speaking, when you're talking about full service yards or really the more sophisticated facilities that are able to comply with these types of part searches, you're looking at between 500 and 1,000.
Okay. And I'm curious how, so for my edification and for the audience, how does using a recycled part work? Can you take us through that?
Using recycled parts no different than using a new part, right?
Okay.
One's used and one's new. They're going to perform exactly the same. They're checked for form, fit, and function. A lot of times in certain scenarios where we know we have frequent flyers, parts that are repetitive, the demand is greater. Then we harvest those parts in advance of the need. We put them through a reconditioning process that you buy it out of a box, so every part's always the same. We always say we service the customer in the now and the near. The now is I have a customer in my bay that needs a part today to get out of the bay and get on the road. And so we get a lot of independent requests that are just one-offs, one at a time. But the near is we know that there's going to be a need, it's in advance, and we pre-position those parts to be able to service in a more timely fashion. So we try to be in touch and tune with the market. Like I say,
Well,
we have relationships with the manufacturer, so we tend to have really good info.
And Wade, the other piece I was really interested to learn about was really the quality of these parts. And it makes sense because Ted and I are hearing, from the collision side of the equation in automotive, there's so many vehicles that are getting total loss today where the insurance company is deciding that this is a total loss vehicle, but really the vehicle itself isn't that damaged when it comes to a lot of the components within it. It's actually, just one or two pieces, depending on how it was totaled out. But then the rest of that vehicle is completely fine. So how do you handle the warranty component of this? Because I'm sure our listeners that are listening today are curious about that component as well.
So not all parts would qualify to service a customer at the dealership, but there is a significant amount of components that are right low mileage, relatively new components, right? Form, fit, and function.
yep.
They'll perform like they're supposed to. Because we don't want to differentiate from the OE, we don't want to have to give different warranties. We give a like and kind warranty that follows the OE. It's nationwide, so you don't have to chase someone down. You just come talk to us and we'll take care of it. So we try to bring operational sameness to an industry that may or may not have had that in the past, but to a customer who requires that, to be satisfied, right? Consumers are instant gratification. They want something and they want it now, and it's got to be right. So KarKey was designed to decrease the complexity of trying to actually source that, where you have to break out your interpersonal communications to describe what you want, and they describe it back to you. It's no, you go online, you simply plug all the information in like you would any of your parts locators by OE number and VIN, and you're able to communicate real-time details that can be applied to the now and the near. What situation you're in, how urgent is a component, what do we need to do to be able to service that customer? Because if we all put the customer first, I can assure you we will never go wrong.
This is all about putting the customer first, Wade. And right now in our industry, simple things, even like an oil change, people are waiting for up to several weeks to get into a dealership. I can't imagine, once the vehicle's in the shop. I know Sarah has lived through that several times in the not too distant past. Walk us through that again, Wade. How do you specify parts on KarKey? Take us through that. How does somebody get online and find a lot of this information?
So you simply go to karkeyusa.com.
Okay.
You click request a log on. It'll give you highlights where you need to actually go and sign up. That'll prompt us on our side. We typically like to do business specifically with the OE or with the dealership. So it's not open to the public.
Right.
And so they'll approve it on our end, and you'll get your login credentials, and then you'll be able to log in and start identifying opportunities for you to help your customer.
And I know logistics are going to enter into the equation, Wade, right? Getting the part from A to B. Take us through that. How does that work? And talk to us about shipping. And is that included in the process as well?
Absolutely. So KarKey is designed to be interactive, so we can talk to each other, to make sure that we can ensure that if there's anything specific, any time restrictions, something that's unique to whatever situation you're trying to service. So in the pricing of the product, the freight is actually included. There may be some scenarios where that might change depending on the size and scale of the part. If you're ordering a fuel tank, there can be some anomalies, but for the most part, you're going to find that it's all included in the price. When you're looking for a part that's actually still on a vehicle and that has to be removed, there is a time delay between when you order it and when you should expect it. It can be up to 72 hours. Some of the parts that have already been staged that in advance of the requirement, they can be shipped same day. So it depends on where the component part resides. We try to communicate specifically when you should expect the part. That way it gives you an opportunity to schedule all your work.
Well, wait, that's incredible. I mean, even talking, 72 hours to same day, we're seeing dealerships that in some cases, those parts, they're waiting on, the availability, in some cases up to a year for some of the parts on vehicles today. And it's in a, increasing problem, with customers that are wanting to hold on to, a pre-owned vehicle, or maybe they purchased a pre-owned vehicle from an OE, but that OE is not the same brand as the pre-owned car that they purchased it. So Wade, what I'm hearing is that, if you're, for example, a Ford dealer, you have a pre-owned, another make in your inventory, you can find parts for your inventory cars. And on top of that, have the fact that warranty with those part components that might be needed in that reconditioning process.
Absolutely. KarKey's all makes, all models, right? And put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you're waiting for a year, what's the odds that you're going to buy that brand again? Pretty slim, not too good, right? But KarKey, a lot of times, and when you're looking to service a customer, a lot of parts historically haven't been available as a recycle part option, especially when it comes to interior components. So used car refurbishing is the deal of the day, right? Everybody everybody knows and loves the used car market, and being able to access a lot of components that historically you might not, what you just described. Maybe there's not an interior piece that's made, and the aftermarket is just not acceptable. It's going to give you the ability to access, interior trim pieces or things that you may not have ever thought were something that you would look for in this venue.
And Wade, the retail dealer's ability to recondition that vehicle in a short amount of time has never been more important than I see right now. The industry has really awakened to the fact that we can acquire vehicles on our own service drive and take them in through trade-ins, but to get that vehicle frontline ready and to get the decision on the vehicle and then get the parts, those are the first two steps in the process. And like we were saying in the green room, if some dealers have hundreds or thousands of vehicles that they're reconditioning, that just gets magnified even that much more.
Oh, it's amplified to the point of, right, there's a lot of revenue tied up there. And you might be looking for something as simple as a headrest, or you might be looking for something as simple as a seat track or a wiring harness for a seat. Those are the type of opportunities that KarKey. We're not going to say that we can wave our magic wand and fix every problem that you have. We're simply saying it's an opportunity for you to access things that you may have not been able to access, which ultimately generates more revenue for the dealership, which ultimately services and satisfies the customer.
The timing is right. Wade Hilburn is the president of a company called KarKey USA. You see their information scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Sarah, this is new and timely and something long overdue in our industry too, Sarah.
It is, Ted, and Wade, what you're bringing to the marketplace is so needed. That trust, that again, the warranty, all of those pieces to allow dealers to really serve their customers. This is cutting edge.
We appreciate the opportunity. We know that the dealers are on the front line, and you're making promises, and we want to do everything we can to help you uphold that. Customers for life. I guess that should all be our goal.
I love it. So, Wade, if our audience watching here today wants to reach out and get more information or maybe have some specific questions answered on their circumstances and situation, Wade, what's the best way for them to reach out? How do they do that? What do you recommend?
I'd recommend that they go to info at KarKey, KarKeyUSA.com, and we'll be more than happy to get back to them in a timely manner. And we appreciate the opportunity. We want to hear feedback from our customers, good and bad. When we get bad, we know it's an opportunity for us to improve. And so we don't frown upon that. And we appreciate everything. And thank you for taking the time to allow us this platform to visit.
Everyone, you can see the URL at the bottom of the screen, KarKey with a K, KarKeyUSA.com. Wade, there's also an 877, a toll-free number at the bottom of the screen as well. I guess they could reach out by phone as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Exciting times in our industry, Sarah, and KarKey is leading the way. And I look forward to hearing more from Wade and the folks at KarKey and some of the dealers that are utilizing this over the next few months and into the next year, Sarah.
Absolutely, Ted. This is going to be so exciting to hear more from Wade and the KarKey team.
Everybody, Wade Hilburn, KarKey USA. You see the information at the bottom of the screen. Wade Hilburn, everybody, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you so much.